Hello, engineers. My name is Craig Holchin. I hope we've had a chance to meet before now, but if not, let's dive in. Today, I get to show you guys a really awesome CAD software called Onshape. Just briefly, CAD stands for Computer Aided Design. These are tools for building 3D objects. As you see in this wild one, we're going to be building stuff like this. We probably won't be building things this intricate for a while, but this is where we're headed. These are how our engineers designing things for airplanes, for cars. Throughout our economy, we need these products. Okay, so let's dive in. So very first thing, go to new tab and type in onshape.com. A couple things about the software. This is really cool because it's cloud-based. This is kind of like Google Docs in that it's all based on the browser. It saves automatically. It functions very similar to, again, Google Docs. Later on in the class, we're going to be using something called SolidWorks and Inventor, and those are more desktop-based and do not automatically save for you. You have to consistently do your own saving, so this is a nice perk. Again, when you guys do this, we like the software because it's web-based, it's browser-based. For this sort of work, you're really going to need a mouse. So if you have a mouse, great. If you don't have a mouse, maybe put this on pause and go find one in your house. Having a mouse is going to make your life way easier when you do this. Okay, first things first, once you're at onshape.com, you need to either sign in or make an account. For most of you guys, you're going to just be making an account. And for yourself, do use your school email address. If they ask other personal information, feel free to lie on that other personal information. That doesn't matter so much, but you will need an account that you can consistently log into for this to work. Okay, so our very first project is this cube project. Okay, I paused it for a second so I could bring up this screen that we'll be showing you guys how to get to soon. This is where you'll be presenting your information. I want to look at one of these specifically for our cube. So here, you guys are with the wooden blocks, you're going to be making your own cube. After you've already done it with the plastic ones, we'll make a wooden one as well. We're also going to do it on the computer. So each of these are individual parts that then we do what's called an assembly to put them together. So this first step is how do you build just one of these little parts with this software? Okay, now let's go back over to Onshape now that we have an idea of what we're doing. First things first, you're going to hit create, create a document. Go ahead and give it a title. I'm going to call it Cube Part 1. That's a fine title. You will end up having several parts, and so I wouldn't just type in some random letters. I think you're going to be better off actually typing in a real name. Okay. So this is a lot of new icons. As we work together this year, we're going to be helping you become more familiar with what all of these icons do. But let's dive in and just start doing. So first off here, you see we have a plane, kind of like maybe in your math class. We have a front plane, a right plane, and a top plane, and we can choose to make our work on any of these. For all of the CAD stuff, first what we do, the idea is we make a two-dimensional shape, two-dimensional whatever, and then we give it depth by doing something what's called extruding, and I'll show you that here in a minute. So to start off with, I'm going to start a new sketch right here. So start a new sketch, and I'm going to do it on, I don't know, do it on this front plane here. Here in the top right corner is really important. This is called your view cube. If you want to see maybe just the front head on, I'm going to click the front here, and notice now I see the front head on. If I want to go back to that corner view, I can click the corner, or you can see top. You can click any view with your view cube and orient it whatever makes sense for you. You can also, if you get some crazy wonky thing that you don't like, you can select right here and do any of these views. Generally, like the isometric is kind of the home view. Let me go back to front and let's start making the sketch. Okay, so here we're just going to make a square first. So I'm just grabbing the square tool. I'm going to click over here and drag any random square. Okay, now we want to set dimensions on these. I think for our cubes are 3/4 inch cubes. So I'm going to set these dimensions to be 0.75. Now there's two ways to do that. I can just hit the D button on my keyboard. So I just type D, click on the line, and there's telling me what its current dimension is. We want to change that, so I'm just going to type in 0.75. There, just adjusted that. Now, if there's another way, this icon right here is the dimension tool. So if you don't want to use the keyboard, you can click here for dimension, click over on this line, and we'll type in 0.75. Now this is a square, so really we don't need to set these other ones, But just to show it right now, I'll go and show these. But again, you don't need to do this. I'm just doing this to show. Okay, the first step for any of our CAD work is to make a sketch, a two-dimensional sketch, and then we give it depth by doing something that's called extruding. So I'm going to go over here now. Notice this is called the extrude button. So I'm going to click that, and I think it guessed what I wanted. So here it gave it a depth of 1. In this view, it's kind of hard to see. I'm going to adjust my view back to this top corner so you guys can see that in fact it did make this. Now our cubes are only 3/4 of an inch, so I'm going to change this depth here to be 0.75. Great. You now have a single cube. Congratulations. Okay, well let's add a little bit more to this because I'm guessing your shape is a little bit more complicated than just a cube. Let's keep going. So now on any of these surfaces, I can do another sketch. So let me do another sketch here. Let's say I want it to go out kind of this way. So I'm going to sketch. You have to tell it where do I want the sketch to happen. I want the sketch to happen on this face. So I'm clicking this face. It's now selected that. So now I'm going to choose the rectangle. I'm going to wait till it highlights that corner, and I can just drag it out. Now for some people, doing this diagonal view might be kind of hard. If this works for you, great, run with it. If this view feels confusing to you, you can go over to your view cube, hit front, and now you have it head on. All right, so let me pull this over. So notice I waited for it to be highlighted there. I'm going to pull this down and just put it somewhere out there randomly. Now we're going to do dimensions, and that's how I'm going to get this to line up nicely. So let me go back to my dimension tool. Let's say that this is 2 cubes long in this direction. So I can type in 0.75 times 2, or you can just type in 1.5. Notice it'll do the math for you. So I wanted to go 2 cubes in this direction. Now this vertical direction is not quite right, so let me hit the D button. Select that, and go 0.75 again. Okay, great. Now I'm going to, just so you guys can see it. So here this is just going out that way. Now what do you do after you have a sketch? I hope you thought extrude. So now we're going to extrude this. It brought that up for me. It guessed a depth of 1. We don't want a depth of 1. We want ours to be 0.75. All right, now that has the appropriate depth. So that's looking pretty good so far. Let me just hit, yeah, you're good. Now we can kind of see, we kind of have this little cornery piece. Well, let's add one more level of complexity to this. Let's say I want, I don't know, some appendage coming up right here. So I'm going to do what? Hopefully you're thinking sketch. So I'm going to put a sketch right here. I'm going to do one more kind of square here and then extrude it up. So let me get a nice view of the top here. Now I'm seeing that head on. I'm going to go to my sketch tool. I'm going to choose where you want the sketch to go. I want it to go right here. A rectangle. And I selected that corner, bring it down. That's awesome. It locked into this other corner for me. That's going to save me the need to do dimensions on it because I went from this corner and it locked into that corner, kind of snapped in is what it's called. And now I can just extrude that right away. Let's go extrude this. And let's see, how far do we want that? I'm going to tilt it so we can see this a little bit better. We want this to extrude, let's say two blocks. So I'm going to say 2 times 0.75. Or if that's easy for you, you can just type in 1.5, enter, and check. Great. Okay, so that is one of our first parts. Of course, your pieces might be different, but it all comes down to build a sketch, extrude it, and then once you have that, tell it where you want the next sketch to be, extrude, and so forth. If you guys have questions, please never hesitate to ask myself or Mr. Katie. We are here to help you guys. We love this stuff. There's your first cube build.